so I'm sorry, what was the question? Oh yeah, under window, any of your panels that if you lose them will be here. Appearance is not here. Oops. Workspace. No, that's not it. Huh. Let's see. Let me think for a second. Anybody with Photoshop experience know how to get appearance? It may actually be under properties. So let's see. Go ahead and turn properties on and see if appearance is a sub of that. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I think the last tool that we didn't do is just the polygon, which is the same thing as the rectangle, but I just wanted to show you, if you click on polygon and then just click without dragging, it'll give you the option. So if you want to create like a triangle that has equal sides, it's symmetric, you can do that, and then it'll create that for you. So what you do is you go into the polygon tool, which is a right click under the rectangle tool. Just click anywhere on your screen and this create polygon dialog box will come up, and then you can set different parameters. Alright. Any questions? Okay, so one other thing I wanted to show you or tell you is, okay, we got Control Z, which most people know, is to undo. Control 0 is to zoom to the full extent. We did that. So sometimes you need like guides, and to make guides, you just, does everyone have rulers? So the numbers at the top and the left on their screens? Yes? Okay. No? Yep. You go to view, and then you can click on rulers. You can also press Control R. So that was another shortcut that's important. The rulers. So to get your guides, then you just drag them out of your rulers. And then to toggle your guides on and off is Control semicolon. Okay. And you just drag it, like you take your mouse pointer and yeah, you just drag it. And then you can move them once they're in there. And if you can't, it's because they're locked. So you can lock the guides if you don't want to mess with them, like you've got them set. And you can also clear them and get rid of them. Another useful thing is in the rulers, if you right click, you can set like how you want to view your ruler, and sometimes I find it's easier just to do it in inches. Kind of gives you some reference point that you know. So that's right click in the ruler, and then it gives you like these options. Okay. Alright, so next we're going to go into the creating a wide angle or and street views. So you can Actually, let me show you. So we open this as a JPEG file. Now we can't save it as a JPEG because it's got all these layers in it. So when you press save, it's going to ask you to save it as something, right? So this is a Photoshop file, and so you can, if you feel the desire to save your masterpiece here, you would save it as a Photoshop file, so then you can go back in and edit it later. Without that, you'll lose your precious data. Okay, but I'm going to close this for now. And I am not going to save changes. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, is everybody ready? Any general questions? I'm going to turn my light on. It's getting dark. All right, so does everybody have the tutorial slides presentation open as well, or like in the background? It may be helpful. It's in the same class file, class folder, class 3. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be doing is doing a photo merge, which is cool. It takes a little bit of computer power, so bear with me, and I'll bear with your computers as well, because I imagine it might be a little bit slow, but we're going to go to File, and then Automate, and then down to Photo Merge. Click on that. And then I'm going to click on Auto. Yep, go ahead. It will create a new document, but we're going to go to Automate and then Photo Merge. Okay, I'm going to click Auto. Each of these will give you a little bit of a different result, and so we're basically taking multiple photos that I had of Lower Manhattan and merging them into one view. So this will give you one result. Now, if you had slightly different photos, you may want to like change the layout and play whichever one comes out the best, is the right choice. But for here, we're going to do blend images together, and also click on content aware fill transplant areas. Sometimes this does funky stuff, and sometimes it is like a genius, and you have to do a lot less work changing the photo later. So it's worth trying it on this, and I'll show you what it does. So in the probably have to download if you don't have like your Google Drive linked to your computer like I do. So all of these wide angle photos, I'll give you a second. 1 through 8, if you can download them, so you can then go ahead and select them to be in this photo merge. I'll give you a second. I'm gonna get a glass of water. I'll be right back. You guys ready, or you need another minute? Okay, I'm going to take the silence as ready. Okay, so then we just click OK, and it does a bunch of processing in the background. It goes through every image and tries to stitch them together. takes a minute. Photoshop do its thing. Patient with this one. Anyone has a quicker computer than me? Sweet, nice. Mine's thinking about it. Did it before, so I know it works. Let's just go slow. Anybody else have success? Sweet. Yep. Yeah, and so that's typical. So like once mine finishes doing its thing, I must be patient. We'll go through some transform controls. If I can't get it, I can show you the transform controls without the stitch. But it's a great tool. You know, if you take a couple of photos out in the field and you want to come back and, you know, show a proposal, it's a great way to stitch them together. A lot of phones do this now, so, you know, it's a little bit less of a need than maybe in the past, but it's available. All right. Sure. Oh, really basic. Like, here's the site that I'm, you know, would like to do, or whatever it is. You know, it has to be a location. So, like, if it's even a grand scheme of things, like you'll have an example of a bigger plan at one location, kind of thing. Just nothing major. Paragraph is fine. Just your thoughts of what you want to do. Yeah, that would be great. Sure. I think it's coming. so this is what I got. You should probably have something similar. I know from the past that this makes my file incredibly large. So I have all of these layers in the background, which is like all the pieces of this thing that they came together and did. But I'm going to delete them because I don't need them. I don't need to go back to them for any particular reason. So I just have now one layer, and I suggest you do it as well. So one layer that is this merged photo, right? First thing I always do is I make a copy of my background and I lock it, just in case something happens. Crazy things happen in Photoshop and you're like, oh crap, you know, and you want to go back. So, okay, so here it is. So, okay, right here in this bottom left corner, you see this. That's that content aware thing. So it tried its best. It didn't succeed in this case. So what we're going to do here is use the, sorry, I've got Scooby Zoom on. Yep, so there's this little lock. Here, you just click on the layer you want to lock and you click here. Yeah, you're welcome. Alright, so go ahead and zoom down here. If your zoom is doing something weird, you probably have scrubby zoom on, which is an option to use. It's almost like if you had a touch screen and you're zooming in and out with your fingers, like you don't have to, you just click and to zoom in, you just move the mouse up, and to zoom out, you move it down. It's just a different way of zooming. So anyway, let's zoom into this corner and see if, I got it, okay. If we can fix this a little bit better. Even over here, it's sort of done some funky things. So we'll try our best to fix up this portion of the image. Alright, so it's throwing me off. Okay. So let's go ahead and use the stamp tool. So that's the S button, or click on the tool over here. And you can see right now, like it's, at least mine, is really tiny. So I'm going to right click and increase the size because I want to take a sample size like large enough that makes sense. So something like this, so I'm not going crazy. Any questions? Okay, so yeah, yep. So the stamp tool is the clone stamp tool. You can either press the letter S or click over here. And then mine was really tiny, so I did a right click and I increased the size to something, well, mine's 111 pixels, if that helps. Okay. Now make sure you're on the layer that's not locked, okay? And you're gonna do the same thing as before. I'm gonna come over here where it's like one picture and not like a bunch of pictures merged. Like this is a little messy. So right by the barriers, like underneath, I'm gonna click Alt, or press down Alt and click, like, I find it helpful to click like right on a line, so then you can match a line later. So you hit Alt and click. That grabs that spot, and then I'm going to move over here. Can everybody see where I am? So like you can see how like the joint in the sidewalk I'm lining up. I'm going to click and drag, and you can see there's a plus sign that appears. That's where my original point is, and that's where I'm copying from. So as I move, the plus sign will move. So you'll see eventually you're going to get close to where you started, and that's where you want to stop because it's going to then pick up what's behind. and we know that that was messed up. So I'm gonna do like one box, right? And see, I went too far and I picked up the barricade. So that was no good. So I'm gonna undo that and do it again. So stamp, I'm gonna alt click, line up my line and do a little bit over. And I'm basically gonna make this box and quit it before it gets too messed up. And see, like even here, it's not the nicest connection. So I may come in, stamp, and then, and so you can't go too far with this stuff, and this is what takes people hours to do in Photoshop, is just cleaning up drawings. So you'll learn the value of taking good photos, because you know the pain of fixing them in Photoshop, but you also know how to fix them in Photoshop. So can everybody see like what I'm doing? I'm just going through it, and making everything look correct. So I changed the size of my tool right there, so I can come in here and do it. So like here, I want to finish this block, so I know I want it to end like this, so I'm gonna come in and kind of go like this, connect them. I was a little off, but that's the gist of the clone tool. And you can just go through this and do your thing to get, basically you're going to make it all the way over to this area. Just keep going. Oops. Oh, that was terrible. So keep on. Say that again. Ooh, escape maybe. Press escape. Did that help? Or Control D. So it sounds like you have something selected. Yeah, Control D and escape are like, you'll find out. It'll get you out of a couple of different troubles. So if everyone can kind of see what I'm doing, and eventually, well, I'm gonna get over to this weird building thing that's over here and get rid of it. Things in here I don't want, but I think you guys get the gist of it. Yeah. Do you have, okay, so maybe your target is off, so like you have to remember your target moves as you move. So like you may be copying something that you don't want to be copying. So when you click the Alt and select like as your target, so like say I click it like right underneath this barricade, if I start and I go up, it's going to draw the barricade. So it's going to copy something you don't want because it's moving. So you have to be really aware where your target is and like what your Yes, frequently. Yes, so so I'll do a little bit just to get it how I want it to look, and then I'll say, okay, I have to come over here, you know, what looks like, or like what's the angle that I need, and I'll find that target and I'll do a little bit more. And it gets easier, so like I was able to do this faster than I was over here because I had to build my area, and then once you do that, then it's easier to move on. Yeah. But I still only did a little area. Make it bigger. Oops. But this all really, it does take time. It's like super time consuming and tedious. A lot of Photoshop is. Oops. But it's super cool also what you can do. Things disappear. And this is not like great quality. So I'm just trying to show you quickly, you know, the tool. But you can come in and zoom and really like make all your lines clean. You can use the brush and, you know, go ahead and like reinforce, you know, what you're trying to do. Oops, that was not right. So is everybody playing with the stamp tool? Great. One other thing I want to show you in here is just how to do actually, two more things in here. I think we have time. Okay, so up here on the top left is another thing where it was like, oh, well, the buildings are in the sky, so let's just make buildings in the sky. So what I would do here, like we just want them gone. So it would be best to select them and then fill them with a color similar to the sky as like a base to start. So I tend to default to the magic wand. You can use any of the selection tools that we went through. So you have the magic wand, you have the magnetic lasso, you have the polygon lasso. With the magic wand, you can start your selection. You can add to your selection by pressing shift. It'll bring a little plus box, and you can start to select what you eventually will get rid of, basically. And if you go, oh shoot, I selected too much, just do a Control Z. It'll just get rid of your last selection. And then, so this, while it's selected, I just want to fill it in with a color. So I'm going to right click and let's see what's the best way to do it. Actually, no, let's go to the paintbrush, the paint bucket tool. So many tools. Okay, the eyedropper, we're going to select the color we want to fill with. So that's eye, or this little guy eyedropper tool. We're going to select the sky that we want to fill in or cover over our building with. And then we're going to fill with the paint bucket, which is G. And we're going to go in here and fill in our selection. Okay. Another way to do this would just be to use a brush and just to color over it. But so you can do that. Opacity on. But that's like dangerous because you can get like close to the tree. So it's better if you have something selected. So when you do the brush, it'll only go in the selected box. Same with the paintbrush, like it'll only go in that selection. So you can like paint like a maniac, but it's only going to go in your selected box. So let me show you that again. So with the wand, or let me show you the lasso. I'm going to kind of follow this tree. With the lasso, like if you like need a anchor point, you just click and then continue along your way. Like you know you want an anchor point somewhere and it's not reading it correctly. So let's go something like this. Around. That. And then I'm going to go back to my point. Okay, so now I have this selection. Now if I use the brush, it's only going to brush inside of this selection. Okay. You can right click on the like high level tool and it gives you the other options. One tool I didn't show you, I think it was on my list and I didn't show it to you. Oh no, I didn't have it on the list. Is the smudge tool. Like, so you see, like I made this all like a solid color and it doesn't really blend with my surrounding area. So with the smudge tool, and it's the same as the brush, you can have different heads, I guess. But this like smushes the colors together, and you can the same way the brush works. You can like have the strength, so like you can smudge it gently or really hard. There you go. So it kind of blends things in. But it also is taking any pixels from the surrounding area. So like up here, I just got some of that building, and so it kind of doesn't look right. So this too. Like, and then you have to just make decisions. So like up here, I would probably, to save my sanity, just remove all this and make it sky, you know, because to get this building out of the trees would be like nearly impossible. So you're almost better like copying this tree over here, which is basically what Adobe did when it guessed. It just made a copy of the tree, if you can see. But we can do this layer via copy and just like move it over here. Now the background color is off, so we'd have to mess with it, but you have to try to like do your best and decide what's the best decision and gonna cause you like the least amount of pain in editing. Or I may even just be like, okay, that didn't work, but over here I can just crop it here and then that looks good too, you know? So if you don't need that, that would probably be for this particular one, a good solution. Okay, the last thing I want to show you is the transform controls. Okay, so we're gonna do, so this is sort of like this rounded wide angle, and it would be nice if we could get it to be a little bit more like straight on, like a elevation view. So using the polygonal lasso tool, which is here, go ahead and click that. And let's start at this building, this one with 2 flags. So go ahead and click on the corner where the building roof is and come all the way down. Now you're gonna have to come down to like where the street and the building meet. You can't see it, it's behind the car, but do that. And then let's go all the way down to the end of the photo. And we're gonna have to get this building in up here and close it. So your box should be like that. We'll give this a shot. It might. Right click on it. Make sure you're on your copy layer and say layer via copy. So I just want to show you the transform control. So when you're in this new layer, if you turn everything else off, you'll see it's just a copy of what was in that box. Does everybody have that? Awesome. Okay. Okay, so edit, then we go to transform, and there's these options. Let's start with perspective because I kind of want to like bring it up. So if you see the middle control, you can play with the perspective there, so you can get it to be a little bit more straight at the top, and just play with the image. Yep. Okay, so you want to be on your layer 2, or whichever layer is called, but the one that you selected, and then you go to edit, transform, and then perspective. And then, so like, you play around with it, and then when you feel like, okay, this is good, you have to press enter to lock in those edits, let's say. And so it's a little less skewed, but you've also created trouble below with the cars. So we may want to do it again with the cars in there, and ideally it would give you less trouble. So let me do that while you guys work on it. So check out the right thing, right layer. You always want to be sampling, or like your selection. You have to make sure that you've got the right layer that on. So like when I do my selection and I'm going to layer via copy, like I make sure that I don't have layer 2 on, because it's only going to copy my distorted thing. You want to make sure you're on your correct layer. So if I do this again, but maybe go down all the way to the cars, I might have better luck. Copy, edit, transform. That doesn't really help me out at the bottom. I mean, a little bit. Maybe if I able to bring this down a little bit, and then I can go up. You want to share your screen? Sure, you can. Okay. Let me see. Share my screen. Okay. And then so in edit transform, besides the perspective, which I feel works best for this, but there's other, there's scale, which we showed before. That's just increasing the size of the box. You can rotate, skew, I'll show you skew. Skew just, you can go, with the perspective you're like constrained vertically, or you can't go horizontally, but with the skew you can pull it in all directions, and similar with distort. So it just gives you different options and play around. You know, you just gotta play around to get what you need. So this doesn't hold this corner of the building, so you can lose what you're doing pretty quickly. Okay, so that's transform for the thing. We did the clone stamp, we did the selections. Let's, if anyone needs to take a break, you can take like 5 minutes if you want. And then I want to show you the assignment, and we'll start on that because there may be some questions. But it's basically using the tools that we learned today to create a one consistent street view from 3 different photos. So let's come back at like 8:07. And I'll be here if anyone has like specific questions till then. No worries. No worries, that's fine. That's okay. No, that's fine. So the steps are on the presentation, and the files are in the class file. And if you have any questions, just send me an email. No worries. Bye. Okay, is everybody here? Thank you. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick tutorial. Well, not really tutorial, because all the tools that you use here you pretty much have done, but this is your assignment for tonight. Once this thing stops spinning. Okay. Alright, so you're going to create a new file. So you're going to go File, New. And then, so this is the dialog box that comes up when creating a new file. You can name it. It's always a good thing to name things when you're starting. So like class 3 assignment. So we're going to do this, the width will be 24 inches and the height 11. Resolution 300 is good for this. These defaults you can keep. RGB color. If you were printing, you would want to change it to CMYK, because those are the colors that actually print out of your printer, so it would be more accurate. Stick with 8-bit, although 16-bit will be smoother. It makes file sizes really large, so stick with that. So this is good for us. We can hit create, but I do want to show you on the top. Photoshop has a ton of like preset things. So like if you know, okay, I'm doing something for the web, you can go ahead and like click on here, and it'll have the most common, large, medium, small, mobile. Like it'll have the dimensions set up for you, which makes your life easier. Like if you know what you're doing, go ahead and use them. But I know for this one, the 24 by 36 works the best, so go ahead and do that. I mean 24 by 11, and hit create. Okay, so you're going to have a white box like this. There's 3 files that you need for this. It's the Street View, 1, 2, and 3, I believe. Yeah, Street View 1, 2, and 3. So to put your images in, like if you have in your file, you can just, the quickest way is just to select them all and drag them in. Except my computer's slow. So it takes a second. Otherwise, you can go to File and then Place Embedded, and you have to select one at a time to do that. Well, apparently. Okay, so now I have all 3 in here. So the goal of this project is to make one continuous street view for these 3 images, and I have it backwards. So it's, this house is all the way over here, the blue one's in the middle and the white one's to the left. Okay. So you're gonna use what you learned today, but I do want to show you one thing that's really helpful when doing this sort of thing. In the layer, you can click on it and select multiply. Yes, not a problem. You press File and then Place Embedded, and then you select, select and place, and then it's going to pop up, and it's not going, you're going to have to press Enter. It's going to look fuzzy at first. That's just something Photoshop and all of Adobe does just to save processing power. But then you just click Enter, and it'll really go in there. Okay, so multiply. Put this on top. So if you have a layer on multiply, you can see behind it what's going on. So you're going to be lining up these images. So this is super helpful to line things up, and then you're going to use like the edit transform controls. And you can play around, and as you line things up, you can see it because you can see what's underneath. So you know like which way you need to go and to pull to get things to look right. Yeah. So on the layer, there's this bar here, and it will normally say normal, and that's generally what you want it to be. But when you're editing, you can click on multiply. Yeah, you're welcome. So that'll be helpful. You'll basically be using the edit transform controls to sort of move them so they're the same and they look aligned. And then, to your heart's content, you can try to line up the telephone lines to get them to look consistent. People in the past have completely gotten rid of the cars, which is a feat in itself, but for sure you want like the sidewalk line. If the car is still there, it's okay, but you want the sidewalk to line up, and you want your sky to look consistent so it looks like one photo when you're done. And that's the assignment for next class. Does anyone have any questions or want me to go over anything? You don't have to. Like, if there's a car in front, that's fine, but, like, if you see on my screen, like, I don't have the front of the car, you'll have to add the front of the car, which I think is probably somewhere in one of these photos. Oh, it might not be. So, you might want to get rid of the car then. Or you have to draw the front of the car, which may be more tricky than actually deleting it. So on the presentation, the slides, like I have a final image, more or less. That's what it should look like when you're done. So the last slide is done. If there's no questions, you're free to go. I think that's all I had on my list. And if you are missing any assignments, go ahead and do them. I think everyone's pretty much caught up. But if you're not, you know, post your stuff to Flipgrid so you can get participation points, because it's 40% of your grade. So without that, you will not do well. That's all. Sure. See you guys next class. You're welcome.